Hey everyone, Matt Soble here checking in. Today we're going to be talking about the importance of asking really great questions. It's something that is so important and often overlooked. Too often people are focusing their whole effort on their perfect pitch, the perfect interview to have, and they're not focusing enough on what questions to ask and how to listen and ask the best follow-up questions. So I think this applies in two really great scenarios that might be applicable to my audience. The first is in job interviews. So for all of you guys who are maybe thinking about switching roles, maybe just graduating, or are looking for a new role, asking questions can be one of the most differentiating factors that you can have in your interview. And also in sales. So if you are in sales or you are in any sales related role, asking questions is so important. So I want to focus on the interviewees for a second, and I'm going to give you guys some very tactical questions that you can ask that have worked for people interviewing for jobs with my company. They've worked for me when I was interviewing for roles at the onset of my career. And it's something that I really look for when people are interviewing with me, that they come prepared with good questions, because it shows that they're really thinking about the role correctly. So some great interview questions that if you are interviewing for a job, you could go out and ask are things like, what do the day-to-day responsibilities look like? What does success look like in a position, and how is that going to be measured? Try to get as specific as possible. What are some challenges that the person in this role will face? Are there opportunities for professional development? What does it look like? It's really important to show that you care about learning and continuously improving yourself. What are you hoping the person in this role who gets hired will accomplish in the first 6 months? Trying to understand the expectations and align if that's something that is going to be a good fit for you. And also, what type of culture is here? What type of people tend to thrive, or what people tend to not do as well within your company? If somebody comes to me and is asking me those questions, I can really tell that they've got their head in the right place, thinking about what it's going to be like to work for me. I really can't stress enough that when people come in and their only questions are, hey, what do you guys do? What are your roles? No, I don't really have any questions. This all sounds great. People who have questions, you can tell that they're a few steps ahead, and they're almost interviewing us as if they've got other options, and they're trying to see if our role is going to be a good fit for them just as much as we're interviewing them to see if it's a good fit for us to hire. And so I think that it kind of flips the script a lot if you're able to kind of become the interviewer, even if you're being interviewed, and ask a bunch of questions at the end to make it seem like you got options and you really want to make sure this is a good fit for you. It's not just a one-way street, and joining a company is a big commitment. So I hope that's really helpful for you guys going out and interviewing and motivational. It's just as much what you say, but also at the end when they say, all right, do you have any questions for me? Really use that time to your advantage. For you guys in sales, thinking about how are questions working in sales, maybe you have a little sales script or some intro questions, but we have a very clear format that we've started to use to really qualify people within the first 15 minutes if they're going to be a good fit for our company. And I want to share what we're looking for because it's really simple and it follows a very clear framework that works every single time. So we call this the Goals, Challenges, Plan, Timeline framework. It's not something that we invented. We might have gotten it from HubSpot, maybe somewhere else, but it's something that really works. Basically, at the onset, start talking about goals. The idea is to get your prospect talking. What goals do you have? What does that look like? Trying to get as specific as possible about sales goals or whatever goals you're really trying to say. Depending on what your product is, the goals might be different, but try to ask about goals. Then you're going to ask about challenges. Okay, what is this person challenged with in their role to get to that goal, and what is the company facing in their efforts to achieve their goals that's going to be a roadblock? You want to ask about any plans they have in place to try to achieve their goals, overcome those roadblocks or things they have already rolling, and find out about a timeline of what their expectations are to achieve their goals and what their expectations are as far as when all of this needs to happen. What we've found is that people really love talking about their business and they love sharing, and asking open-ended questions and just getting people rolling is a great strategy. to kind of have that first conversation. After you ask all of those questions and you get to the end of the conversation, you should have a good idea of whether or not you personally think this prospect is a great fit for your services. And then you can take the next step to educate about your product or your service through the lens of everything you just learned. So you can use the examples of how your product would work to help overcome those roadblocks, help achieve those goals, meet those challenges, and how it could work within the timeline and along with any other current plans they have in place and how it could all fit. So kind of you can wrap up the conversation of, I hear your goals, your challenges, your plan, your timeline. Here's how I think this all could fit together. Potentially, would you be open to another phone call to kind of go deeper? Maybe you're getting to the stage of where you're close to submitting a proposal. So I want to wrap this up, guys. I hope there's some tactical information in here for you, and maybe it's just an eye-opener to get back thinking about your question asking skills. If there's one skill to focus on, it's learning how to ask better questions. The learning is never done. And then after you ask those questions, really listening well and asking the great follow-up questions to show that you're listening and show that you're going to be a great person to work with. So go out there, ask good questions, be curious, guys. Our Curious podcast, we're called the Curious Marketer Podcast because we're always asking ourselves questions, and this is so timely. Go out there and ask great questions. It's going to be a big win for you guys.